Welcome to another episode of the Jim Roman Show, where we talk about how to build a better business to build a better life. Today, we're going to be talking about balanced. How balanced is your business? How balanced is your life? If you've been joining us as a part of this series for the month of March, we've been talking about our Micro to Millions series. Whether you're trying to go from $250,000, $500,000, or $1 million or more, these topics can help you. Or whether you're going from 0 employees to 2 employees to 7 employees or more. Our goal and commitment is to help our clients and our community build a better business to build a better life. And today's topic is especially special to me because if you know my story, my dad died of a heart attack at age 62. We owned a family restaurant. And when he died, the restaurant died. And I believe people are dying in their business every day because they're not balancing it all. They're not being able to live the life beyond the business that they have. And so in this final episode of this series, I am super excited, as I am in all our episodes, to teach you a thing or two, because today with a simple shift, just a simple shift in mindset, a simple shift in your business could make a big difference. If this is your first time here, we want to welcome you to our episode. If you like, you can comment below, ask questions. We are checking the comment sections during live and recorded. So if you're watching this afterwards, thank you for doing so. Are you listening while you're driving? We welcome you as well. If you like what you hear today, we recommend that you like, share, and subscribe so that you can be notified when we do our next episode. We are doing something new for next quarter, and it is truly to serve you all. So you'll be receiving a survey on what you believe your biggest challenge in growing your business this year is going to be, and we're going to create content around that. So let's jump into today's episode of how balanced is your business? How balanced is your life? For those of you who joined us in the first series where we talked about what is Micro to Millions, how the process came about, one of the things I talked about in that episode 1 of this series, is a balance. Balance is an acronym that I created from a series of books that I pulled from my bookshelf. I looked through the table of contents and I noticed out of all the books, if you add up all the table of contents of what it takes to be successful in business, it came down to 8 elements. And I created an acronym around it, BALANCED, balance. And what's interesting that I found ever since I invented this or created this, I have not found anything that counters these 8 elements, or what we would call 8 best practices to building a better business. One of the first things you want to be doing is blocking your time to get things done, blocking your time to give back to your people, blocking your time for yourself. I'll probably talk a lot about that today because it's a key factor. The first A in balance is acquiring clients. L is for leadership. The second A is for automatic processes. N for numbers, C for clarity, E for employees, and D for delivery. And what I have found is that these are the 8 elements to a better business. Now, interesting thing is that once I created this, I decided to create an assessment around that. So I created an assessment called the balanced analysis. And the balanced analysis was to assess your business on a scale of 0 to 10, how balanced is your business? And what I would ask clients to do, and I encourage you to do this, feel free to take a screenshot of this. If you want a copy or access to our balanced analysis, our beta version 2.0, please let us know. It's being released very, very soon. More about that in future episodes. But what I would ask my clients to do to determine how balanced they are, I would ask them on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 to 10, how much time do they block their time? How much time do they have for themselves? How much time do they have to give back? And they score themselves between 0 and 10. And let's just say, for argument's sake, they would say a 7. So you would draw a 7 in this assessment. Then I asked them about acquiring clients. On a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being you have so much business you can't handle it, 0, you're going broke. Where would you score yourself in between that? And just say someone would say an 8. Leadership on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being you're the best leader, people want to come work for you, people want to follow you, people want to go to battle with you. 0, you don't think about leadership, you don't know the importance of leadership, give yourself a 0 and say somewhere in between. And just say a person said 5. Automatic processes on a scale of 0 to 10, your business can run without you. The business experience, delivery to your customer is outrageous. You have plenty of reviews, you get referrals, people are raving about you. Give yourself a 10. Give yourself a 0 if you're winging it every single day or everywhere in between. And let's give somebody that a 3. A lot of times people say to me. N for numbers. Numbers is that you know your numbers cold. You know your numbers to the penny. You know your numbers on a regular, consistent basis. Give yourself a 10. Give yourself a 0 that at the end of the month, you hope and pray and beg there's money left over. How would you rank that? Let's say this person said a 7. In clarity, give yourself a 10 if you know exactly where you're going, where you're headed, why you do what you do, your purpose and passion. You know what you want your business to look like in the future, and you know when you want it to run without you. Give yourself a 0 if you wake up every day and it's cloudy. You cannot see 3 feet in front of you. You're blind, and anywhere in between. Let's give that person a 9. Employees, give yourself a 10 if you have employee plan, employee performance, employee onboarding, employee development. Give yourself a 10. Give yourself a 0 if you can't stand your employees and you want to kill them, or you don't have them and you never want to have them. I would encourage you to give yourself a 0. So let's say you give yourself a 5. And then finally, delivery. What is your experience of your customer? Not only the first customer, but the 1,000 customer. Is it the same? Is it in a way that you deliver an experience that they cannot live without you? If that's the case, give yourself a 10. If you're winging it every day, every month, every quarter, every year, give yourself a 0. Let's just say this person is a 4. So when I took the balance analysis and I applied it to these principles and I started scoring this and I asked people to add it up and essentially draw it together, and this is what it looked like. It was interesting how this came about. So if you connect the dots, connect the lines here in this particular example, what do you notice in this wheel of life, this wheel of business? It's pretty unbalanced. That's kind of crazy. That's kind of crazy. And this is why I think so often people don't have balance, is because they're out of alignment. They're out of alignment. And making tweaks and adjustments to these various areas will make the biggest difference in your business satisfaction, your joy in life, and probably the people around you. What was interesting when we did deliver this, I was super excited. I came up with an acronym, balance, out of the many books that I've read and learned from. I created an assessment. I delivered the assessment to my clients. And then someone said, "Hey, Jim, I have a question." And I go, "What's the question?" And he asked me, "What do I do with what you see in my wheel, the way it looks? What do I do?" And I was like, "I don't know what you mean by that." And he goes, "Yeah, what do I do?" I go, "Well, you're doing it. You're in one of our masterminds. You're doing our coaching program." And someone said, "Well, what he means, I believe, is what do you work on first?" And I was like, "I don't really know. I was just excited. I came up with an assessment and an acronym. I don't know what I work on next." And that's what I went to work. I went to work to figure out what to work on first, second, third, fourth. And guess what? It depends. It depends on where you are in business. It depends where you're on the 9 stages of business, which you can get at our Start Here program. It depends on how many employees you have. It depends on what you want to see look like your business in the future. And that is how the Micro to Millions begun. We started to take people through the balanced approach to business. The next thing you know it, the next person would grow, the next person would have a life, and so on, and so on, and so on. And I was like, eureka, I have a way that people can have a balanced business so they can have a balanced life. Now I want to take a moment here just for a footnote. Let me tell you what I don't mean by balance. There are so many critics out there that says, "Oh, you don't want a balanced life. You don't want a balanced business. It's never going to be 50-50. Whoever said it had to be 50-50? Balancing is a juggling act. Balancing life, balancing your priorities, balancing your commitments. We do it every single day. And so I argue that you can be balanced. You may not be perfectly balanced. We're never perfectly balanced. We're constantly, as we walk and ride our bikes and go for runs, they're constantly balancing our lives and balancing our bodies and balancing our minds. So when I say balanced, I mean having it in order, having it in control to a point where you can enjoy what you do, enjoy your life. My question to you is, how balanced are you? Are you being pulled in many directions? Are you overcommitted? Do you have a problem with saying no? If you have a problem saying no, look at last episode, episode number 4. We talked about how to say no and why it's important. But I do digress. So I really want to take this principle and apply it to my audience, apply it to our community here today. And I've taken some notes on things that you could be doing to create a more balance. And I want to give you some examples. I've always loved to give live examples of how we've made some tweaks, some simple shifts in people's businesses and their lives to take them to the next level of satisfaction. So I'm going to just pick a letter out of the air. Over to my left is a copy of the balance. That's why I'm looking to my left. And so what can you do? Let's pick a letter. Pick a letter. Okay, shout out there. What letter you want me to cover? Okay, shout. Okay, N for numbers. Okay, so I heard you want to talk about numbers. So if I were to make a simple shift in numbers, To take my life and my business and my satisfaction and my balance to the next level, here are some things to consider. Keeping in mind, I don't know what industry you're in, what stage you're in, how many employees you have, what revenue you have. It will apply differently, but the principles are still the same. So I have taken some notes and some numbers that you can do. So number one thing you can do in tweaking your numbers and making your numbers stronger on a scale of 0 to 10, if you're at a 3, how to get it to a 4, from a 6 to a 7, 9 to a 10. One of the first things that I would be considering is doing the math on what do I need, want, and desire out of my life and my business. Let me say that again. So often when I ask people, what do they want to make? What do they need to make? They're usually the same answer. The number one answer is I need to make, want to make $5,000. And I don't think they understood my question. My question is, what do you need to make to get by? Not knowing that number is huge. You can't really move faster forward without knowing that need number to just get by. What do you want to make? Meaning, when you have your needs met, what do you want in addition to that? And then ultimately, what do you desire? And we call, what are your life goals and how much would it take to do that? That's just one element of the numbers I call numbers 101. Knowing your needs, wants, and desires. Let me go in more specific for those of you who are listening. Is the needs is, for me, I'll give you an example. Many years ago, I was running 2 BNI franchises. BNI stands for Business Network International in Central Virginia. And I was not paying my bills. I just came on board with the company. I was growing the region, and I had my publishing business, but I wasn't making enough. So I needed to make more money. And so I did the math. I actually pulled out an Excel spreadsheet, created a spreadsheet, budget, if you would call it, a spending plan. And I needed, back then, $4,000 a month, actually $3,967, $4,000 for conversation's sake, a month, just to pay my bills. Not to pay insurances, not to pay taxes, just to pay my bills. Then my want was to be able to pay my taxes and my insurance. And why is that 2 separate numbers? Because if I'm not making my simple needs, there's no need to go for my wants, because if I don't hit my wants, I'm not going to hit my needs. And I needed to know that. So I had $4,000 of needs, and then insurances, taxes would say another 300. So my want was 4,300. And my desire back then was just to go out for dinner once, just to have an extra 50 bucks, 100 bucks a month, just in case I needed it for repairs on my car or anything like that. So it went from 4,000 to 4,300 to 4,500. And all of a sudden I had a eureka moment, meaning I now had something to shoot for. I had to shoot for it that no one wants just to scrape by and get by. And so I'm going to go for that number. And as soon as I hit that number, I'm going to go for my want, so I can cover my insurances and my taxes, because eventually it's going to, not be able to be paid. And then I started to dream a little bit. I would love to have dinner at Carrabba so I can have some bang bang shrimp, a cocktail, and some ahi tuna. True story, true story. So the moral of the story here for me was I didn't know my numbers. And so how can I be balanced? How can I have a better life? And that's one of the first places I recommend people to do, is to know your needs, your wants, and desires. And once you've achieved that, then you can shoot for that. Then it goes to the next level of numbers. I call numbers 201. And that is knowing your profit and loss. Your profit and loss. And let me tell you simply what profit and loss is. It is your revenue minus your expenses minus your paycheck equals profit. I'll say that again. Yes, I did say exactly what I said. Most people don't know their numbers. They don't know their profit and loss. Their loss is at the end of the month. They hope and pray and beg there's money left over. That's not healthy. That's clearly not balanced. And so the next level of knowing my numbers was to know my revenue minus my expenses minus my paycheck left me with profit. And with the profit, I was able to pay for things for the future and for whatever I needed for. So for some of you, you know your needs, wants, and desires. You've known that for quite some time, but you haven't looked at the needs, wants, and desires of your business. And again, it's revenue minus expenses minus your paycheck leaves you a profit. And I highly recommend profit spent, not revenue spent on things that you need. And then the last level of numbers you might need for yourself is to know how much it's going to cost to hire someone, how much it's going to cost to acquire someone, how much it's going to cost to expand, how much it's going to do, whatever that is, that next level of number that we call numbers 301. So you can see in the balance analysis, in the assessment that I'm sharing with you, there's different layers, there's different levels to really understand. And sometimes knowing all the layers and the levels can be overwhelming. regardless of where you are, I'd be asking myself, do I know my needs, wants, and desires? That will get you more balance. In some cases, for me, that one little shift, literally that one little shift, was a game changer for me, because no longer was I surviving, I started to thrive. I went on to do a lot of revenue on a regular, consistent basis. Those numbers went on to 5,000, to 6,000, to 7,000, and so on and so on and so on. For me, that was the one shift. For some people, I remember not too long ago, I was talking to someone about profit and loss, and I simply said, revenue minus expenses minus paycheck equals profit. And they went, boom, light bulb. I mean, what happened? Well, I didn't think about paying myself first before the profit. And like, oh my gosh. Or another person on the exact same concept, they said, oh, spend profit, not revenue. Yeah. For me, back in the day, back before I got into the business that I'm in, I had a mentor who said, have more income than you have outgo. That's another number level. Have more income than you have outgo. That was a game changer for me. And for others, they just don't know the math to hire people. They don't know the math to be able to put processes in place. They don't know how much money they need to be able to expand for the future. So that's just one number. If you just one letter, if you just pick one letter, the balance, the numbers in this particular case, and that's all you worked on today, this quarter, this month, that might be the game change you need to get you one step closer to being balanced. And I find when you have a balanced business, you start to have a balanced life. Let's do another letter. Pick another letter. So yell out there, type in the comments below. What next letter do you want me to do? And I'll pick one from my list. So go ahead, comment below what letters that you want. And the winner is B for block timing. Block timing is another element that you could get more balanced. And again, there are different layers and there are different levels to block timing. I've talked about this relentlessly. I wrote several blogs on it. You go to jimromanonline.com and click on my blog. You'll see how to save time, how to be able to get things done. But I want to take block timing to another level for you, 101, 201, and 301. So 301 for me, for 101. So one of the first things that you could do to block timing to get to the next level, get more balance, maybe for you, what would be very powerful would be blocking time to bring in business more than you do to get the work done. I'll say that again. For some of us, we need to bring in more business. And we're not bringing enough business because we're not spending enough time on that. When I first was introduced to the balance analysis concept, the assessment, was a gentleman, I forget his name, it was Case something. And he created an assessment called How Fit is Your Business? And in his presentation about how fit was your business, he said the average person spends less than 5% of their time in bringing in business. 5% to bringing in business. And obviously people didn't believe him. And as they went to look into their numbers, looking into their time, the actual number was 3% of their time for bringing in business activities. 3%. I concluded that I believe that if you go from 5% to 10%, you will double your business. Go to 25% of your time bringing in business over getting the work done, and you'll never have to worry about bringing in business again. But are you blocking the time to do that? Or are you blocking the time to get the work done? I'm in the process of reading the book, The One Thing by Gary Keller, and I love it. I've been through the 3rd chapter so far, and I'm loving it. And Gary says in his book, The One Thing is finding the one thing that's most important today to get done. He says in his book that so often we're too busy getting things done at the cost of the one thing that we need to get done. Meaning you do a lot of mini getting dones, mini tasks, mini check things off, where you're not doing that one thing. I'm not doing it justice, but it was a very powerful perspective where I love checklists. I have a checklist right here. You know my Post-it note process, and I love checking off at the end of the day, at the end of the hour, all the things that I got done. What Gary's having me to think about was, did I get the one thing that was the most important thing to do today? Because there's always that one thing that if you did would be a game changer. And so blocking your time to do that one thing, blocking your time to work on your business. I call that block timing 101. Let's talk about block timing 201. 201 is, for some of you, and I got to read my notes here. For some of you, you need to take time to yourself. So often we're worried about other people's priorities, but we're not taking care of our priorities. In fact, it was interesting, a story of one of my clients shared with me that last year, through the encouragement of me, I told them to take some time for themselves. I encourage everyone to take time for themselves. And I found out that he loves to boat. He loves boating. And so he bought a boat and he went boating and he had the best time ever. The following week in his coaching session, he said, Jim, I just want to let you know that I didn't realize it, but because of your encouragement, I went boating last week with my wife and I had an amazing time. And I realized when I was boating that I haven't taken time for myself in 8 years. 8 years. I've been too busy building my business, growing my business, running my business, that I didn't take any time for myself. And he thanked me. And if you know my story, I love when people have a life beyond the business and they share that with me. In fact, I encourage people to take a break at least once every 90 days because you deserve it, you earn it, and it makes the biggest difference in creating a balanced life. I just went to Key West. For those of you who follow me on Facebook, I highly recommend, if you're not following my Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and all of the good stuff, please follow me. Would love to connect with you there. But I shared that a client asked me to come down to Key West. I said yes. I didn't know how I was going to get there. I didn't know if I was able to go there, but I said yes because I knew I needed it. And boy, am I glad that I did. He has a beautiful house in Isla Morado overlooking the bay, and it was a game changer for me. So for some of you, we need to block the time for ourselves. Another example of that was working with somebody who owned a chain of cellular phone stores. And I was talking about this very concept. Months into the program, he shared with me that his business has grown, but he wasn't going to give me credit for it. And I'm like, okay, this is a weird setup. Why would you tell me that your business has grown and that you're not going to give me credit for it? What's the catch? He said, well, I did what you told me to do. And what I did is I decided to do something for myself. Now, every Wednesday morning, I go to a local coffee shop called The Daily Grind, and I read the paper and I drink my coffee. And I got to tell you, it's amazing because it's the only time of the week that I'm not dealing with my family and my kids, which I love, but I need some time for myself. And I'm not dealing with my employees in my 6 stores. It's me time. It's the only thing that I've done in the last 90 days working with you, and my business has grown. I can't tie it back to that, but I will say it is the only change that I made. And I won't take credit for his business growing on that, but I'll take credit for the business. I'll take credit. I'll give him the credit because he took the time for himself. See, for some of us right now, you're overworked, you're overwhelmed because you're not taking care of yourself. And if you've ever heard me talk on the topic of block timing is the oxygen of your life. If you don't take care of yourself, how can you take care of other people? In fact, that leads me to the third level of block timing, and that is making time for your team, making time for your employees, making time for your strategic partners. So often I find that business owners don't take time to do monthly mentoring meetings with their people. In fact, if I had more time, I'd go into E on how to hire, who to hire, when to hire, but more importantly, how to mentor monthly meetings for your people. Because I find that if you take the time to develop your people, it gives you time everywhere else. And so if it were me and I were you, as I finish up this episode on balanced, part of our Micro to Million series is it only takes one letter, one area to tweak just a little bit that makes the biggest difference. Imagine you're driving down the road and one of your tires is out of balance. What kind of ride are you going to have? It's going to be very bumpy. It's going to be maybe uncomfortable. And you're not going to get the gas efficiency that you would like, and you're not going to have that smooth sailing ride. But if you get that tire balanced, like you get your life balanced, it's a more enjoyable ride. You can go a lot further, a lot longer, and enjoy the journey as you do that. I have so much more to share on the balanced analysis, the balanced approach. But as you can see, we only have a limited time in these lives. But for a limited time, I would love to offer you a free complimentary coaching call with me, where we take the balanced approach to business and apply it to you. Whether you're a realtor, a painter, a plumber, a property manager, a manufacturer representative, whatever that is, for a limited time, for the next 2 weeks, I will offer you a complimentary coaching. You can go to, you can email me, message me, comment with me below, or we'll post my Calendly link to set up a free 45-minute consultation with one catch though. My time is limited, and I want to make sure you keep your commitment to be on that call. I've had recently 3 people cancel on me, and that is not fun. 1, because I want to make a difference, and I can't make a difference if we don't have that call. But number 2, I really want to make a difference. As you know, when we do these Coffee with the Coaches, we do these Coaches Corner and these Facebook Lives, I really want to make a difference. I don't do this for the fun of it. I do this for the impact of it. And I really want you to have a more balanced business so you can have a balanced life. So I want to thank you for being here in our episode. Again, if this is your first time, please comment below, question below, message me, and always follow me on the various social medias. Would love to follow you on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and all those other places. Please share the value you're getting out of that, and always subscribe so you can be notified of our future episode. We have a new series coming up in April. That's dictated by you. So if there's any particular topics you want us to talk about, from bringing a business, getting the work done, creating raving fans, going from micro to millions, how to say no, whatever those topics are, please let us know so we can better serve you. As always, I'm Jim Roman. Remember, the more you know, the more we grow.